Get ready because we've got some crazy garbage for you guys today. This is Football Fury, one of the most forgettable Super NES football games of all time. I don't even need to say anything, just look how this game plays. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. You remember those ad campaigns, right? You know, Genesis does when Nintendo don't, and so on. I'm not going to sing it for you. Anyway, this game really proves it, right? Back in the early 1990s, the Sega Genesis had football games that more or less were actually pretty good. Meanwhile, those of us who were Nintendo fans had to put up with garbage that was barely playable. Now, this game isn't horrible, it's just not good, that's all. The nice part is that passing is easy, but of course it's easy because the defense literally can't tackle. All in all though, this is probably the most basic 16-bit football game I've ever seen. At least the screen when you score a touchdown is pretty cool. You know, it's kind of like playing Tecmo Super Bowl on the Super NES. Well, it's Tecmo Super Bowl except, you know, with horrible controls, and it feels like the game's just going to glitch out at any given minute. Anyway, aside from all of that, it's perfect, right? Well, there's a story behind this game, of course, and here I am to tell it. You'll get a hint of the backstory if you look at the Japanese version of this game. So in Japan, this was called Ultimate Football, which is a direct reference to a much worse basketball game on the NES. That would be this game, Ultimate Basketball, one of the worst basketball games of all time. Seriously, do not play this game, not even for a second, it totally sucks. Now, the reasons why these games have similar names is because they were published by the same company. This was a company called American Sammy that created a whole ton of really crappy Nintendo games. And the code itself was programmed by the same contracting company. This was a company called ICOM that was responsible for some of the worst games I've ever played. I'm talking about awful games like Amagon, an NES game that literally nobody has ever heard of. You've got Robo Warrior, a Bomberman clone that is basically unplayable. At least the first stage of Vice Project Doom is pretty cool. But then you get to the platforming part and the game just sucks. The game sucks because the company sucks, right? ICOM is, or was, a horrible company. And so it's only fitting that a horrible company would create a really crappy football game on the Super Nintendo. Now, this is not the worst football game on the Super NES. In fact, it's not even the worst Super NES football game to come out in 1993. Konami's NFL Football says, hold my beer. But this game is still really bad. So you've got 6 formations to choose from and something like 12 plays per formation. But wait a second, look at those formation names again. The I formation, that makes sense, sure. But the single wing? The T formation? Yeah, I feel like this was programmed by someone who was a fan of 1930s college football. Anyway, in the end, it's okay since none of the plays really matter that much, right? They tell you things that don't actually happen when you call them, and the formations in the game look nothing like the diagrams to begin with. Anyway, after playing this game for a while, you'll learn that the easiest way to gain yards is on the ground. You basically just run through the defense and hope that they don't dive at the right time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depending on the team you choose, you can also pass, which sometimes is easier than running the ball. And the one really good thing about this game is that it's a lot easier to pass than in other 16-bit football games. Yeah, this one goes out to all of you who criticize me for struggling with passing in the old Madden and Joe Montana games. Those games all have passing systems that really suck. Football Fury is okay, but you're passing blind most of the time. Tecmo Super Bowl on the NES is still the gold standard, and I'll fight anybody who disagrees with me. Passing is fine, but defense in this game really is a problem.
First down.
One of the big problems is that the game keeps changing the player you control on defense at random.
First down.
In the end, it doesn't really matter what defensive play you call. Your defense will do the exact same thing no matter what you decide, and you'll spend most of your time trying to figure out who you're controlling. Yeah, it's worse than it looks. In fact, the defensive system in this game is one of the worst that I've seen in any video game anywhere. It makes no sense at all, right? You choose a play, you choose your player, and then the computer gives you control over like 3 or 4 different players in like a 3-second window. It's nauseating, and it makes you feel dizzy. Oh, and of course, it doesn't matter which play you call because the players always do the same thing every time anyway. The other problem is that you've got this annoying music playing for the whole freaking game. The music does change in the 4th quarter, but the new music honestly isn't much better. It's just the same crappy MIDI-style music that you'll find in any other video game. The halftime show also has different music, though it's probably the worst of the bunch. And sadly, the halftime show just goes on like this forever until you push the B button. Like, they couldn't animate anything. They couldn't even have like a still image scroll by like Tecmo Super Bowl does. I mean, I know how to do that, right? I mean, I've played Sega Master System games that have dancing cheerleaders, right? ICOM was just so lazy with the halftime entertainment this time around, and it really is a major disappointment. Now, the other strange thing about this game comes down to clock management. For most of the game, you can figure out how to manage the clock like you're supposed to. However, when you've got under 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter, the clock will stop on every down no matter what. I guess that this is supposed to make it so the other team can come back, but man, this really sucks. And yeah, I can't believe that I'm complaining about like clock management options in a video game, but yeah, it's really stupid. You need to be able to run out the clock if you have the lead. I mean, it's football, right? So if you want to play a game where the other team always has a chance, go play Pigskin 621 AD or something like that again, right? In fact, come to think of it, I should be playing that game instead of playing this garbage. Anyway, with less than 4 minutes to go in the game, we peeled off this big run for a touchdown, putting us up by 14. And yeah, this is like the arcade version of Tecmo Bowl. Once you realize that you can brush off the tacklers, you've got it made. But then the computer started to come back. Yeah, I just hate those runs out of the shotgun. We can't defend them at all. If they would call a normal running play, we could get one of our linemen to dive diagonally and make a big stop. Anyway, you knew, of course, that the computer was going to come back, right? Of course it was going to happen. This touchdown made it a one-score game with 2 whole minutes left to play. And this is where I really wish we could just run out the clock. Instead, the computer had us figured out all the way, and we ran a bunch of plays for a loss. Now, you need to realize that by this point in time, I was really invested in this game. I'd been playing for over a half hour by this time, and I was just trying to push my way to the end, right? Some of you guys criticize me for not playing these games frequently enough. Well, when you have real garbage like Football Fury, you're only going to be able to finish one game, right? There's no way I'm going to play this game again. I never want to see this game again. Anyway, we had this respectable gain on 3rd and 13, which brought up a very difficult choice for me. I had avoided punting all game long, but this time I figured that the risk was too high. And so we punted, giving them the ball with only a minute left. Hey man, at least we were able to stop them on the return. Now, one of the things that really sucks about this game is that defenders act totally randomly. Like, sometimes your guy makes the tackle, sometimes though you have it lined up right and he like somehow misses the ball carrier. It doesn't make any sense. It's like the game has no rules at all. It's anarchy football, but it's not the fun kind of anarchy. And of course, they went back to the shotgun. Fortunately, we were able to hold them to a short gain on 1st down. But then they ran it on 2nd down. And I could see my video game life passing before my eyes. The other thing that really sucks about this game is how slowly these guys run. You know that it's going to be a big gain and you just can't do anything about it. It's like watching somebody steal your car and then drive 10 miles an hour down the road, and yet the police for some reason still can't catch up with them. Now it was crunch time. They went back to pass. And look at this, we got a glitch interception. So we started wasting time. And with time expiring, we pulled off this run for a first down, and that secured us the win. I take this as a sign that I am the ultimate master of Ultimate Football, or Football Fury, or whatever you want to call it. The sportscaster says something about like creaming your pants or something, and no, I'm not going to play the second game of the season, thank you very much. Anyway, there you have it. That's Football Fury or Ultimate Football or whatever. I won. Congratulations to me. Now let's never think about this game again.